Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 1301 for the 16th of September. So we're gonna jump straight to the Sumi front as usual. There is a geolocation of the main battlefronts, a missile strike on an alleged UAV depot. Yeah, so maybe they in this barn they keep some UAV and then it got struck. Not super important, honestly per se. Not that it doesn't affect the war. The problem is that we cannot track the effect of it. The only way we can track the effect of missile strike, drone strikes, and whatnot in the war is the frontline change, which is the contradiction to what the Ukrainian perspective is, because the frontline changes is so against the Ukrainian position right now that they say that it's not about the frontline changes, it's about how many people you kill. And they strongly believe that more Russian soldiers are getting killed. Oh, sorry, this is my WhatsApp. More Russian soldiers getting killed than Ukrainian soldiers, and they are attritioning the Russian army, despite that the Russians have nearly advantage in all sphere of the military face off, from air superiority to missiles to tanks to artillery. So, and the only thing that they say is that the Russians have terrible tactics when they go to attack, so they got killed off when the Ukrainians are defending. So whatever it is, you can believe whatever you want. For me, frontline changes is the only way to track the real situation of war, and because who want to surrender or retreat unnecessarily. So even the Russians, when they retreat from the Kharkiv region, from the Sumy Chernihiv region, and from the Kherson region, when they did all this mass retreat, is because they cannot hold a position. That is the real reason why they retreat. So it is a good reflection of what is the real military situation. So yeah. So whatever it is, no, yeah, eat all your salt. No, don't forget to eat salt, because we need it. If you don't eat salt, how to destroy your kidneys? So there is fighting reported at Pelivka in the Sumy front, at Stepney, Oleksievka, and Yunakivka. So the battle continues in this sector. Yesterday we didn't have Yunakivka, so now that's returned. So it's still across the whole front. I did mention that there is some kind of like a sense of weakening intensity of the fighting in the Sumy front. I think maybe that still is the case. I think yesterday we have 4 arrows. Today we have 4 arrows. More or less the same. We go on to the Kharkiv front. So Kharkiv, and over at the Kharkiv front, we have fighting reported at Lipsy, Volchansk, and Volchansky Kotori. There is some major updates. So strategically, this is nothing special. This is pretty routine. But over at Volchansk, there's some very big frontline changes. Particularly, we are referring to the Russian mapping. So the Russian source Ryba has updated the mapping to show huge advances of the Russian front lines. So this is based on Russian mapping. The Ukrainian mapping does not have this frontline change. So this Russian claim that the Russians have fully secured the northern bank, or basically the northern half of Volchansk city, and they have taken much more grounds over in the forest, as well as expanding their zone of control over on the western bank of the city here. So particularly this sector here, this advance here is pretty significant, as well as through the forest here. So this western half of Volchansk is used to be Ukrainian controlled, and then now the Russians seems to have some foothold. And then the Ukrainians have lost the entire battle for northern Volchansk. So this is the big change. However, this is a Russian claim. We cannot confirm the legitimacy of this claim. And there is a geolocation of missile strike on another UAV control center allegedly. So that is the update over in Volchansk. Moving on from this front line, we move on to the Voreshna front. Voreshna front, there is no reports of fighting in this sector except for Ploske. Ploske, we have never seen this place mentioned before. This is out of place. I was trying to look for whether there's a place called Ploske near the front line. I didn't find it, so tentatively this is going to be the place. Moving into the Kupiansk front. This is Kupiansk, and this is the Kupiansk front. We have the usual tentatively fighting reported at Neshvorodivka, Volchansk, Holubivka, Petropavlivka, as well as towards Pischany. Previously, there is frontline changes over in the north of Stepova, Novoselivka. We have already mentioned this yesterday. And there are some updates regarding the front line. Again coming from the pro-Russian mapping. On the pro-Russian mapping, they have not pro-Russian mapping. This is the Ukrainian mapping. So deep state UA, actually deep state UA's mapping. There's a geolocation of Russian forces signifying the Russian advance in this sector. Ukrainian mapping have updated to show that the Russians have full control over on the western bank of the Oskil River at Holubivka. So this is entirely under Russian control. Within Volchansk itself, the Ukrainian mapping updated similarly reacting to the geolocation of Russian forces. So Russian forces are attacking in this western flanking operations around the Ukrainian stronghold of the high-rise building region here. The Russians also, according to the Ukrainians, have taken this area here, which is kind of funny because previously this was already classified as captured by the Russian forces due to the previous geolocation of Russian forces in this sector here. Ukrainian mapping insists that this area here is under Ukrainian control, and now they have invalidated themselves. So yeah, so this sometimes I'm very reluctant to map in Ukrainian claims sometimes where it was already invalidated by by geolocation, but they never changed the map. And sometimes when I change the map, then this happens, where they finally admitted that they actually don't have the grounds. So but it's okay. Maybe it's a bit more accurate in this way. So from time to time, if we see that the Ukrainians insist on certain position, it is okay to map in their perspective. But sometimes I don't, because I just don't think that their information is accurate. But tentatively, this is what it is, and the Russian seems to be flanking around and pincering this fortress region. So this is a high-rise building region. I'm reluctant to call this a citadel like I did in Bakhmut front, but but this is the situation right here. So moving away to the Borova front. So at the Borova front, it had been a quiet front line for some time now. Now we have some return of some activities. Fighting reported at Bohuslavka, Borivska, Andrievka, and Shikivka. Shelling is also reported at Horokovaha or Kovatka, and so there is some additional activities in this sector here. There is a geolocation of a UAV launcher getting hit by the Russian forces in the forest. So yeah, I wondered if this is a revival of some offensive operations. There is some rumors claiming that the Russians are trying to rush or try to attack faster to before the muddy season comes. I have no idea. So we shall see how this goes. For now, I haven't studied the climate yet, but let's see how this goes. We move on to the Oskil Liman front. So this is the Oskil Liman front. The Oskil is over here. Liman is further south. Fighting is reported at Kharkivka, Novomihailivka, Serine, Shandrikholove, Kolizyazi, Stavki. It could be coming from the other side. And fighting reported at Torske. There is this is pretty routine at this moment, with not a lot to really talk about. Probably the straightening of front line by the Russians is being attempted. The push toward Novoselivka, as well as this closure, this cutting off of this entire salient here, might be on the cards. But let's see how this goes. Moving further south over to the Liman-Siversk front, Liman and the Siversk. And in this sector here, as mentioned just now, fighting is reported at Torske. Russian mapping have updated the map to show advance in Torske as well as this frontline change by the Ukrainian mapping. So the push currently is moving towards Yampil. They're fighting towards Yampil, fighting towards Dronivka, through the Serebransky forestry, Krychorivka, Serebryanka, Siversk, Vimka, as well as Fedorivka. Shelling is reported at Platonivka. So that's the current situation. The main push like I mentioned many times, is still pretty much this northern flanking operations in the north of Siversk. So that is the still the main push right now, is all in the north, and with the Russians planning to consolidate the position around Siversk, and then also to look into the future, into attacking Liman from multiple directions, as per they have done in 2022. That's how Liman has fallen because of multiple attacks from multiple directions. So we move on to the next front line, the Bakhmut front. Bakhmut city. So this fighting at Fedorivka, as mentioned, as part of the Siversk front. Fighting is reported at Minkivka, Orikovo-Vasilivka, Chasivya, Stupochki. There is geolocation confirming some Russian advance at Stupochki, and there is fighting at Konstantinivka, probably coming from the southeast, or it could be just shelling by the Russian forces. So there is the Bakhmut front in this sector here. Looks like there is some push in this sector in the north, but I don't expect too much from this area here. The push towards Konstantinivka through Stupochki is more serious because this is related to the fighting in the Thorax front. As we move this up, we'll probably be able to see the Thorax region, which is tentatively also known as the Konstantinivka front. Because once we zoom in here, it looks more like a Konstantinivka front. And fighting is reported at Ivanopilia, Plishevka, Katerinivka, Skrebenivka, as well as fighting at Rusinya and Petrovka. So the battle at Konstantinivka is probably coming from this direction. Let me erase this again. In like this, because of the Russians' advance in this sector here, and so this push is related to the push over and Stupochki. The battle around Thorax is a separate battle altogether. It's mainly trying to close off this entire salient, with the Russian forces putting pressure on the Ukrainian forces to make them know that this is a futile thing to do. Geolocation of Russian airstrike was noted on the Ukrainian forward operating position. So mainly that's about it. This push here is still, this is more related to the one in the Pokrov breakout zone. But yeah, so that is the main action right now over in the Bakhmut front. And I like those that have not watched DPA for a long time, I did mention before, this is a new format for the SITREP. If we look at the situation front to front in a more macro format, and so we look at the macro strategic situation rather than I go zoom in and talk about a lot of details on a tactical situation. I try to avoid that. I probably do separate videos if I want to go into tactical reporting. So hopefully this is more palatable, and this also helps to shorten the videos, which a lot of people wanted, rather than me going 40 minutes. But sometimes it cannot be helped. Sometimes it's just a lot of information to go through. We go on to the Evil Rabbit front, or the Pokrov breakout zone. So as mentioned just now, the Rusinya and Petrovka, this is part of the Konstantinivka side of things. There is fighting reported over in Sofievka, Shakove, Volodymyrivka. This is outdated. Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes when I make some mapping change, but it doesn't reflect. Fighting is reported at Zoloty Kolosias, Vilny, Nikanorivka, Rodinsky, Sheveny Liman, Novo-Ekonomichny. So this is the current picture of the past days fighting. And the main push is the Russians trying to secure this line here. They are trying to push this sector here over on the eastern side. They are trying to push out in this sector. This push at Nikanorivka is a bit more new. We haven't had a report of this since the 14th, so this is a bit of a newer one. And then of course this operation going in the north of Minokhrad, it continues to be the case. So this mainly is the situation over in the Pokrov breakout zone, or the Evil Rabbit front. Moving further north and take a look at the rest of the Pokrov front. So we're gonna push this all up. So we have fighting reported over in the Minokhrad, Marolyubivka, Promen, Lisivka, Pokrov, Vivrove, Kotline, Udashne, and Molodetske. The main push seems to be in this sector here, in the east, where the Russian forces is trying to clamp down based on previous frontline changes. The rest of this frontline, I think, is pretty static. I don't expect too much from this sector. Mainly, the Russians may push out from the western part, trying to put pressure on this highway here. So the other highway is over here, where the Russians are trying to cut it off. So tentatively, they might want to put pressure on this highway, but not to cut it off, because this is to let the Ukrainians withdraw. So, but tentatively, there is still no change to the front line. So this is still just a very macro strategic view of the front line in this Pokrov front. We move on to the next front line and to the Komar front. So this is the Komar front, and this is Komar. And over the Komar front, fighting is reported at Novo-Ukrainka, Dashne, Filia, Ivanivka, coming from the Novohatske region because of the frontline change in this sector previously noted already. Alexandrograd, Shipneve, Melievka, these are mostly Ukrainian perspective of what is happening. These are all Ukrainian reports. Fighting reported at Veliko Mikhailivka. The push is now towards Oleksievka, as the first time we note that there is fighting in this sector. Previously, if it's mentioned, we put it as shelling. But because of the frontline change of Sosnivka, we have now put this as an attack, as a fighting report. And fighting reported at Novo-Mikolaivka. So this is a sector. The main push is probably into Ivanivka. And of course, this push in the west, pushing westward into the Dnipro-Petrov. So the general strategic picture of the Komar front have not changed a lot, with the Ukrainians still talking about the Russians are trying to consolidate this position. But there's no fighting reported in the Iskra region, the Andreevka, Klesove region. So yeah, but that's what we have for yesterday. So moving further south to the Huyaipole sector of the Zaporizhia front, off Novo-Mikolaivka, we have the straightening of the front line based on Russian mapping. They have reported the Russians have straightened the front line in this sector. Geolocation confirming that the Russian forces have captured everything south of Novo-Ivanivka. Previously, we have also this mapping at Ivanivske, confirming the Russians capturing it. And so you can see the main push is all in this general general direction. This is the main Russian push. Fighting is reported at Vysoke as well as Dorozianka. I think these are diversionary to pull Ukrainian forces away from the main front line where the Ukrainians are trying to resist the Russians. These are probably diversionary. And then there is a Russian airstrike at Novo-Mikolaivka or Novo-Vasilivske. So over this sector here, there's a Russian airstrike. Now that's the main picture of the Huyaipole sector of the Zaporizhia front. So hopefully this is interesting to you. And we move on to the last front line, not the last, the second to the last. So happy birthday to you if your birthday today. And of course, press the like button and subscribe. And because of how the YouTube algorithm works nowadays, and even for Rumble, actually, I don't really talk much about Rumble, but Rumble's algorithm is rubbish. So you guys have to help me share if you find the report useful. So so if especially if you argue with people, just share the video and say that this guy is neutral. From my understanding, Reddit and a lot of pro-Ukrainian guys think I'm pro-Russian. I'm not pro-Russian, so I do not know how many times I need to say this. Fighting is reported. There's no fighting being reported in the Orikhiv sector. There's nothing over here. Fighting, however, is reported at Stepnohursk and Kenyamske. Shelling is reported at Madalinivka. And so that's all. The main push is still pretty much this sector here in the west. Over the Kayamske sector, this is what I've already said for months now, that this is the only logical place that the Russians would have gone for a major push, and it seems to be the case for now. And we go on to the last front line, the Kherson front, or the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, or the Kherson front, or the Kherson front, Shellings reported at Buhunka, Antonivka, and Bilozerka. There's a geolocation of another UAV control center that was hit. So this seems to be like a favorite target right now. But it's not a surprise because of the evolving situation in the war, as Ukraine war is pushing military innovations, and I think drone is here to stay. And nothing special about this, and so that's about it. So this is the summary for the day of 1301 for the 16th of September. So thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.